Hello and welcome back to my studio. I'm glad you could join me for this next sketch. I received a comment from a viewer from Latvia asking me if I'd ever considered the ethnographic open-air museum of Latvia for subject material for a sketch. I want to say first that it's just amazing. I am so thrilled to receive comments from and viewers from all over the world. There are many downsides to the internet, but that is one of the most positive things that brings people from all over the world together. This is a really nice way to get together and just share our common interests. Which brings me to an idea or a thought I had while I was doing this sketch about the museum. This museum was formed in 1924, and it brought 118 different historical buildings from all over Latvia into one place, and I just thought that was the best thing, just to show how even though all these people were geographically separated, there were still a basic needs for building your home out of the materials at hand and raising food for your family. Just basic needs and wants, and I just thought it was interesting to show that deep down inside we're all the same. We're all looking for the same things, and we're all just people. Anyway, on that note, ethnographic. Now, I looked at that word when I first looked up the museum, and I thought, what the heck is that? That's some big scientific word that I'm never going to understand. So I looked that up, and it means relating to the scientific description of peoples and cultures with their customs, habits, and mutual differences. So anyway, I used one of the photographs on the main page of the website, but seeing I was not making any kind of monetary gains from this, I'm sure they don't mind. And to check out their website, it's really good. They have all sorts of neat festivals and everything. And I decided to use my brown ink again, because I kind of think it goes along with this kind of pioneer old buildings, kind of matches with it, I think. I started with the fence in the foreground. I always need something to start with that I can measure, in my mind anyway, everything else in relation to that. This fence really fascinated me too. I also like the post caps. I'm not sure if that's what they're called. I'm assuming that underneath those two half logs are holes where the tops of the posts go into to strengthen them, to keep them together. Just little things like that interest me whenever I go to a pioneer village or whatever. I look at the small wooden things, simple things that were made, functional things, and I bet when people made them, there was a certain pleasure they got from making something so functional with their hands, so simple yet so meaningful. And no matter where they came from in Latvia or anywhere else for that matter, it would have been all the same if they could make something with their hands from the materials around them. So you can see once I've got the fence in, then I look at the photograph and see where the building is in relation to the fence. And also the size too. I usually try to imagine the slope before I start drawing. You can correct it quite a bit like I just did there, even if you're using ink. It is permanent, but because of the style of the drawing, a little line off here or there, or doubled up, really doesn't matter. And this style of drawing, as I've said before, is a lot of dots and dashes. Not too many solid lines from start to finish. Having a little bit of a shaky hand does help too, because that adds to the style. having those tall pines behind the whole scene is great. It really adds to the whole the feel of the area, the feel of what they kind of land they would have lived in. The houses and the buildings are made with logs. And it also adds to the design. There are a lot of horizontal lines in the buildings themselves, so having a lot of vertical lines really adds to the interest, the variety. Same with the hatching. When you get to the shading hatching part, you don't want all the hatching to go in one direction, so having a little bit of variety kind of adds interest to it. Always amazes me how much shading and shadows makes a difference to your drawing. Before you start putting those in, it's just kind of a line drawing. But as soon as you put a little bit of shading in, it becomes three-dimensional and a little bit more real. wanted to put the vertical dark lines in just to define the buildings and how they helps them show up against the background. After I had done the initial background there with the vertical lines, I had to look at it quite a while, and I left it like that, and because I wasn't quite sure how to finish off the trees in the background and the branches and the needles. And the next day I came back and I looked at it and I thought, well, just continue the kind of the pattern of the vertical lines, but do it so that it does look like the individual branches coming off. And for me, this worked quite well. So there is no set way to do any of this stuff. It's just kind of what feels right at the moment. This is one moment that I had to think about a little bit, and then it kind of came together for me. After I'd done the background, where I was happy with the tone and the shapes, I needed to define everything else so that first it was the same or darker than the tone in the background. So keeping that background trees in the distance rather than making them come forward. What I did here was just go along the edges, making really nice dark lines. For me, it brought the fence itself a little bit more forward. I didn't want them to be the main focus. I wanted the eye to kind of travel all over the place and take a look at the buildings as well. And I think this worked okay because even though I darkened up the lines in the foreground, The brown is more of a subtle kind of ink color, so it kind of allowed everything to have its moment of glory. Let the viewer travel around. Talking about traveling and inviting people to come into the buildings, I kind of liked the way the latch was on the gate. It was partly open and a very loose kind of a rope latch, which to me is, even though the gate wasn't open, it invited people just to go up and move through the drawing, making sure, of course, you close the latch and the gate afterward. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little visit to Latvia, and I certainly did, and I learned a lot about the country and the peoples, something I never would have done if I hadn't had a viewer commenting and telling me about it. So thank you for that. Take care, and I'll see you next time.